Hi everyone, so we're going to do a series of short tutorials just showing you how you can get sections like these, which are a little bit more subdued colors, faded. I tend to go for styles like this. So we're going to do a series of tutorials going from making sections in Rhino. I'm not going to go through all of the steps, but just showing you kind of what I did to get here. And then we're going to take the line work from Rhino into Illustrator. And then we're going to bring the Illustrator line work into Photoshop to make this. So we're going to start with Rhino. So here I have my Rhino file from this project. I've divided my layers into images and line work, and then from line work into plan and sections. And then I always try to keep my section layers really organized from what's the ground line, what are the temporary people, which just help me get a sense of scale while I'm building this, the frames that I used here, which we needed for this project, background information, and the objects that I'm cutting through in the section. And then I have on the section layer where the sections are coming from. We're going to start by adding a construction lines layer into my sections. And I'm going to make that just a gray. So how you want to start by going about building one of these sections is figure out where you want to cut them from. So for example, let's go through this section right here. So I drew my section line, and that's going to be translated here. I ended up scaling these up. So I built these sections kind of off and copied them over here and then brought them back at the scale they needed to be because the plan and the sections were different scales. But what I would do is copy over your plan, just off to the side. And so this one is straight kind of horizontally, but if I was working on this section right here, I'd probably take this copied plan and just rotate it here so that I can work just up and down when I'm drawing my construction lines. Since we're working with this one, I'm going to make sure that my construction lines layer is turned on. And I'm basically just going to take a line, type L for line, and just start drawing lines down wherever it meets an object, just like that. And also at the start and the end. And then there's also some background information here that I want to build up as well. So for example, I want to see where this path starts. Actually, it's right around the same line, so I can keep that. Where the path ends. And in the background, you'll see this here. That's in the same line as well. Just start drawing lines down and make a kind of end point to start from. And I'm just going to extend these lines by typing extend. This is the boundary to extend to. And just making sure these all touch the bottom. Oops. I'm going to trim this last piece off. And then it might be helpful for you to offset this line just every, let's say, 0.5 of a meter. Just so you can get a sense of height in the section plan. And then I would just go through and make sure that I'm going to start with the objects that I'm cutting through. So I'm going to make sure I'm on that layer. Basically just go in and start building. So I know that this is like off the ground. So I'm going to just, I don't remember what I made it off the ground, but let's say it's like 3 meters off the ground. Actually 2 meters. I'm just going to move these up. Right, and then I had this boardwalk here, so I'm pretty sure that it was, let's say, a meter tall railing, and I know that my railing has a thickness, so I'm going to offset this, let's say 0.1, which is probably on the inside. And then I'm going to actually just make this a closed polyline and then delete the other curves that I drew just so that it's easier for me to add fills in Illustrator. And the boardwalk itself has a thickness as well, so I'm going to, let's say I measure that out exactly how I want it to be. You just kind of want to go in and start adding in your railings or whatever elements you have And then I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'll just show you what it looks like at the end. But I would switch to the background information layer and start doing the background info. For example, we have this wooden closed-in area, which starts kind of, it's through the whole background. So I might figure out how tall it is, add my background, and where it has the little opening is this line here, where you'd be able to see through, and just kind of add the elements, and then you can kind of keep hiding your construction lines to see what's starting to happen there. Okay, and then there was also some stilts, I believe. So I'm going to go back to this layer. Don't remember, but you get the gist. So you basically start going in and building the section like this. I also added in some temporary people. I'm going to go back here for a second, just so I can get a sense of scale. And these are accurate to pretty normal standard heights, so that I can just get a sense of how tall things are based on how tall a person is. So once you've built your section, you're going to just want to bring it back. I guess you wouldn't be doing an outline like this, but you can just kind of arrange all your series of sections however you'd like. I would also recommend making a scale bar. You can also add text so that you remember what, let's say I'm starting with 0 meters, and then I might just put those in so that I can get a sense of like what this is once I need it later in Photoshop or Illustrator. But I can also go back, and if I forget what this is, I can just measure it in Rhino. So once I have all my sections done, I'm going to lay them out how I want them to, and then I'm going to move towards exporting. So as long as I have everything organized on my layers, I have my section cut through elements, my background info, my ground line, the frames, they're all on different layers, so that's really handy. When exporting into Illustrator, you're going to want to make sure that your objects are as close to the origin as possible, so that you don't have to open up your Illustrator and can't find your file. Now I'm going to export just my sections and the scale bar. And I'm going to go to File, Export Selected. And we'll just I'm going to show you the Illustrator file I actually use, but for now, this will be a test section. And I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting an Illustrator file. Here's where you want to import this, the scale of your drawing that you want it to be. So it's probably selected snapshot of current view, but you're going to click Preserve Model Scale. And this is where you figure out how many meters in real life you want to be on paper. So for me, this section maybe was 1 to 50. Yours might be 1 to 20 or 1 to 10. So since mine's 1 to 50, I'm going to do 1 meter equals 20 millimeters and just press OK. Okay, and the next part will be opening up the file in Illustrator and editing the line weights so that we can render them in Photoshop.